New from GBN this fall, Mark Lucas returns as Riley, the lovable initiative operative and all-around good guy. After his partner is killed, he must turn to a hard-nosed, foul-mouthed detective cryptid from the depths of Loch Ness to avenge their death. Starring Al Pacino as the voice of Nessie. It's time to make some Ness. Riley Nessie! Watch our fucking show!
Hello and welcome to Geek and Biscuits, Season 2, Episode 2, Vanilla Sky. Dan, how are you, my good man?
All right, mate, yourself?
Yeah, I'm all good, So, Vanilla Sky, or as we say in Spain, Vanilla Sky E, or Abre los ojos, or something like that, I believe it is. So, what's your familiarity with this film? Before just into that, I would just like to say, and I'm going to throw this straight out there, this is one of my favourite films. People might go, oh, be taken back by it, but I thought I'd throw that out there for you to then lead.
Yeah, that was a little bit Partridge, that.
Oh, yeah.
I think we watched this at college. That was my introduction to Vanilla Sky.
Yeah.
I think it was
Film studies, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was first year of BTEC, I think.
Yep,
possibly.
Our lecturer Boone.
Boone, yeah, Booney Boone. Yeah, it was one of those films that I didn't rate. And I've said this to you before many times. I didn't rate it first time around. I've only seen it that one, prior to watching it recently for this. Yeah. I'd only seen it that once before, and I didn't rate it. I just didn't. I got it, understood it.
Yeah, of course.
And everything. I just didn't. Something just didn't engage with me at all. And I don't know what it is. Well, I think partly I know what it is, but it probably wouldn't be fair to say that everything I like about it rests on the shoulder of Penelope Cruz, even though I've just said it.
Leja de Leja.
I don't know. It grated on me, I think. However, I would say it's been 20 years.
Yeah.
It was about 18
yeah.
Yeah, so it would have been, it's about 17 years since I've seen it. I watched a lot of good films since then. Taste of Change. I watched a lot of shit as well. But I enjoyed it a lot more this time around.
That's good to know. Good to know. I'm absolutely in the same boat as you. We were in the same class. And I can remember sitting in the big dark studio, sat watching it, and I remember our lecturer going, right, boys, what you need to decide today is, would you rather have Penelope Cruz or Cameron Diaz? Yeah, because we've got a choice. It's our choice. You fucking idiot.
That's so much better than another lecturer who remain nameless, remain nameless, sorry, who said that he liked Billy Jovovich.
Especially sometimes looks like a boy. Yeah. Wow. That's what we learned in film studies. Jeez. Yeah, and it was one of those films where I wasn't really in the mood to watch it. Absolutely, I really identified with the film straight away, and which we'll get into in a minute. Is I was watching the film, I was pleasantly surprised going for it, but I was getting a bit annoyed. And there's a certain part to do with where his face is restored, and I was like, bullshit, I want out of this. And then when obviously further events play around, I was like, haha, makes sense. Because I was about ready to walk out then. I was like, this is bullshit. This is fucking bullshit. Don't care how much money you've got. You're ugly now. But yeah, it's one of those films I see it as like a cautionary tale, and I think because the film is, would you class it as romance, mystery, fantasy? I'd class it as a thriller. I think it does tie in other kind of genres it touches into, but and I think it works well as a nice little starting point, as an introduction, that you were almost watch. If you caught this film on the TV, you know the TV, and you just flick over and you're like, oh, what's this? You'd be very, unless you've obviously seen the film before or heard of it, I think you're not going to guess from the first 25 minutes, half an hour, where it's going. And I think because obviously how it entwines into it, Tom Cruise as star, obviously. So many Cruise in this film. Tom Cruise, Penelope Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz.
Tire Cruz.
Yeah, Speed 2, Cruise Control. Like, how many of them are there? Yeah, so I think that as a starting point, it worked well for me, that part, starting up, getting into the film, because it's one thing when we talked about films like this, like how do you introduce a film to somebody like this? What do you say to somebody? Like from my point of view, like I really enjoyed this film, and I went home and said to my mum and sister, I watched a really good film, we ought to watch it. And we watched it, and my mum really liked it. My sister was like, give me back my time. And it is one of those films, I think it's very diversive. But how would you explain it? What the hell do you go and say to somebody? Come and watch this great film. What's it about? Can't really tell you.
See, I've had the luxury of not having to say that until this last week, where I've turned to Miller and said, we need to watch this because Grant wants to do it for Geek and Biscuits. And it's close to his birthday, so we'll let him have it. She turned around to me and she said, oh, what, have you seen it before? I said, yeah, at college. She said, what do you think about it? I thought, well, I thought it was a bit shit, to be honest. She just went, oh, great. But again, I'm glad I watched it because, like I said, I enjoyed it more this time around.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting, this discussion, because obviously we're coming from two different, very different places. Sorry, when we're talking about it, and I enjoyed our discussion last episode for Total Recall, and that was very good because, again, being able to sit and challenge each other ideas was perfect. So I think this time, I think it'll be very interesting. So should we start with like Cameron Crowe? So directed the film. Did my research before and over time as well of just looking at stuff and reading more about it. It's I think he does a particularly good job. I mean, I think directing point. I think a lot of well, I won't go into that. The first thing I'll say, because I think everybody knows, is the Times Squares sequence.
Yeah.
So that's obviously not computer generated or no effects. They was given, I believe, was it like a day or something like that?
Yeah, to get it shot. It's the thing. It's such a nice. It is a good opening. However, I'll just say this is the only part of the film that I was sort of both times impressed with, but sort of slightly aggravated with, because the soundtrack for that section, just fucking noise.
Yeah, it's very.
I didn't like it.
I absolutely love the soundtrack for this film. Apart from that, it is an assault on the senses, really, and not in a positive way. Everybody. I mean, I did say that there was no computer enhancements, but there actually was one enhancement in that, and they obviously, they cleared it, so it was brilliant and spooky and stuff. But apparently, it was the Al Gore and George Bush election that went to court. So I believe. So I think when they were filming, so I think they had to like CGI out all of that because they didn't want it to be a reflection of like and date the film.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when people say that it is no CGI as well, it is, it's a bit naughty. But I thought it was quite funny after like all the impressiveness of clearing it out and getting everything done, and they have to go and like remove a news story that like make it relevant to it and attach it to a time.
Yeah.
But no, I think the one thing that stands out from my perspective with Cameron is that obviously he was a massive fan because this film's based on the Spanish film Open Your Eyes from 1997. And Cameron Crowe doesn't see it as a remake; he sees it as like he says a cover or a remix. And both directors are very complimentary of each other's work.
Yeah.
For the film, so he doesn't. So the guy was like honoured. I think it's Alejandro Amenabar. If I have massacred that, which I probably have, I do apologise.
This Admiral Akbar.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Is your money, Alejandro? It's a trap. So, yeah, so that stands out for me, and I think also like with a lot of the shots, the cinematography and the planning that goes into like the background and things like that. Like there's a little when I think Jason Lee's character, is it Brian, I think, or something, that he's when they come to a party, he's got a t-shirt and like a dinner jacket on, so it's like smart casual smart, and it says fantasy across his top.
Yeah.
There's so many like clues put throughout on X-rays and things like that. Like one of the X-ray codes at the bottom, if you decipher it, says "Don't wake him yet."
Yeah.
So, like from that point of view, the guys Cameron Crowe's like done a really good job, in my opinion. He's filled it all full of Easter eggs. He's gave you hints, and it does reward like second and viewings, and like if you're watching it again. So I think from that point of view, I think he's took so much time to do that. So so from a point of view from that perspective, I think he's done really well, and it does like I said, it does make watching the film again less of a chore if because it's always something to look out for. And I think it's one of those films where because you know that if it is on the TV or you do watch it with someone who's not watched it, if it's like a third time, like you, I know it was obviously the second time in that many years, but for me, I've watched it maybe 5 times, so it's not an amazing amount of times, but it's always been with somebody different.
Yeah.
And I think I didn't watch the film recently. I watched it at the beginning of this year, and I've seen it that many times, like that I thought I'd actually not do it, and I just think that, excuse me, I just think it's one of those films that after a while, like I can sit there and like I think I showed it to my friend when he came to visit me, and he was sat there, so I'm keeping an eye on him, see if he can figure it out and stuff. But at the same time, because I know that there's so much like visual information in there, I'm then looking at myself, and there's the odd little thing you always seem to pick up on. So I'm really impressed with that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know if any of that comes through to you.
Yeah. So I think like this time around, I noticed sort of like I said before about the date or the sticker on his car.
Yeah.
Being the 30th of February, which obviously doesn't exist. This sort of stuff going through the moment when he wakes up, when everything is sort of set up for him, when Tom Cruise's character wakes up, and obviously the vanilla sky background, on the cityscape. There's other clues like it's the first time I noticed this time around where he's walking down the street with Penelope Cruz, and before it just struck me as, there's just classic cars, there's vintage cars lining up the street, and then I realise it's a cover of a Bob Dylan album.
Yeah.
And there's all these, so there are all these little things traipsed about. So there's lovely little clues sort of spaced about, but it's really, it is a film about performances, and Cameron Crowe could have directed it and edited it any which way he wanted to, but it's very restrained. I've found, and it's not. you're not. It's not combating your senses. Like, other than that initial sequence, which I think, in a similar way, like the opening to Moulin Rouge.
Yes.
How the entire beginning of Moulin Rouge, going from opening credits to then getting into the Moulin Rouge, it's such a barrage on the senses, and then it
Yeah.
calms down. And it's the same with this, where you've got the dream at the beginning. It's such a sort of head full screaming at you, and then it calms down straight away, and then you
Yeah.
get that sort of very linear storytelling. Even when things are twisty turning, which is a nice sort of contrast to doing Total Recall, because that's another twisted film. So it's nice to have these two. We can sort of talk about these twists in different ways, even though they are all about dreams and sort of differences in reality and stuff. But,
Yeah, no, I agree. And yeah, you're right. I think that it is one of those films. I mean, I am a Tom Cruise fan, and I admire him for his like stunt work and his commitment to his craft. But there was a time, very early 2000s, when he was quite like over the top and irritating, and I felt that this film was going to be it, and it wasn't. So that did surprise me about that. I think it was just before his legendary appearance on Oprah.
He hones.
Yeah,
Madness.
yeah,
Juice, professional love.
yeah, I know. So I think you're right. I think that's I think maybe, I mean, for all I know, maybe that was Crow's intention, to maybe he did have to really like pull them back and rein it in. But it's just his attention to detail. There's just like you said, you've got the freewheeling Bob Dylan album that like when he wakes up, and that he's walking down the street with Penelope Cruz, like you mentioned. There's just so many little. I think like there's a lot. The number nine's referenced a lot, and that's in the in reference to the Beatles song Revolution. Which is the revolution of the mind that keeps playing. And I think this, I'm not saying the film's very quotable, because, but I think there's some very good quotes from the film, and it's just, I think from my perspective, I think it is just like a what if, like a philosophical kind of like film. Like I said, like a cautionary tale of somebody who's got it good, and like it's almost like, well, it's always the little things. There's nothing bigger. That's one of my favourite quotes from the film. I really do like that idea. So, moving on from the director, we've got obviously the main cast. We've got Tom Cruise as David Ames. What is he like? His 33-year-old kind of playboy. Head of a company because his parents have died. So he got handed the keys to the castle. Then we've got Jason Lee plays his friend, Brian. He's like a struggling writer, and you get the. I don't know if it explicitly mentions that that they've been friends since like before he take over, but you guess that it's been a lifelong friendship, and he kind of funds his work, doesn't he? Then we've got Cameron Diaz, who plays Tom Cruise's sex buddy. Is it Julia?
Julia.
Yeah, Julia or Julia Gianni. That's it. Yeah.
Julia Gianni.
Yeah, and then we've got Penelope Cruz, and he plays Sophia, who's Tom Cruise's infatuation. Yeah. So, and then we've got. I mean, I think we've got a few other like little like parts. I mean, there's the amazing Kurt Russell as Dr. McCabe.
Standout performance.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
Absolutely brilliant, yeah. Even sort of Michael Shannon just doing his prison guard.
Yeah.
Sort of bit, which I was, obviously wasn't aware of Michael Shannon watching it 17 years ago. But yeah, it's just nice to see him. Sort of bit part in
No, no, absolutely. And then we've got Timothy Spall and Tilda Swinton,
yeah,
so it's quite a good cast. I mean, like
definitely.
personally, I will say that I'm not enamored with Penelope Cruz at all. I can see from the film's perspective, I can see how she'd be somebody's maybe infatuation or whatever they've
Yeah,
called it. I can see from a certain perspective what they were going for. And the fact it works for me is because it's the film, they know each other over it just a day, so
yeah,
that totally works for me. I mean, Cameron Diaz does the heavy lifting, doesn't she? Out of the two
she
of them,
does. Yeah,
yeah, definitely. So yeah, so just from that perspective, I think that we've got a nice cast. I think everybody gives it their all. I think there's parts like at the beginning. I think it is very fractured. Like at the beginning, you've got Tom Cruise and Jason Lee work really well off each other,
yeah,
and when you think it's this kind of just kind of like drama or whatever we're going, they work great off each other. They've got a nice bit of chemistry, and then we're like thrust upon us is Kurt Russell's character talking to Tom Cruise behind a mask. So we
yeah,
get that intrigue, and that's again very completely like splits the film's narrative, and then we're back to Tom Cruise at a party, and then so and then we've got like a bit of a jilted romance going on with Cameron Diaz. So we've got all these little plot threads going off.
yeah,
So it doesn't allow you to actually get any momentum behind it. So it's never really bothered me, but I can tell from like maybe some people that I have shown it to that it actually bothers them. They feel
yeah.
that maybe some of the performances can be quite cold.
Yeah, I think that's all the problem I always took away from it is that I kind of even small redemption stories or hopeful stories. This sort of your main character. I think not always, unless they set out the purpose they set out to be. But I think you're supposed to find some kind of common ground with them at some point.
Yeah,
Story, and you're supposed to be able to go, oh, we can humanize them because even that, just humanizing someone,
yeah,
just to get them to connect with it. But I always felt, and I still the second time round, I definitely felt it the first time round, but the second time round, I was still in the same boat that although I rate Tom Cruise as an actor, and he's great in this, I just all the stuff that happened to him, I was kind of like, well, you deserve it, you schmuck. I didn't,
yeah,
all the way through it, even towards the end where you get that little glimmer of hope and everything. I was like, well, I could take it or leave it. I've enjoyed the story, this time around. I've enjoyed your performances more than the last time around, but I
yeah,
still didn't feel any kind of over like riding sort of connection with him. I just kind of felt a bit. It's almost like if Scrooge if Ebenezer Scrooge went through all those nights and still was a bit of a prick when he woke up on Christmas Day. Do you know what I mean?
like the Blackadder Christmas Carol
Yeah,
special.
yeah. If it made him worse, yeah, I think that's how I feel. It's like kind of like Scrooge went to bed, met these ghosts, and went, "Oh yeah, maybe you're right, but you know what? I kind of like the way I live my life
Yeah,
anyway." So, and that's what I kind of feel like Tom Cruise's character went through all this. Oh yeah, I want to live. You can fix my face, but I'm going back. And I know they said like his money might not last very long,
yeah,
but his character, other than what his character's really all the realization that his character goes through about it, being a dream and all this stuff, kind of almost justifies that. Yeah, I wasn't really going through that trauma like I thought I was, apart from the face
yeah,
disfigurement, which can now be fixed. So when I wake up, all the people who either stood in my way or cared about me are dead. I've got a complete clean slate of money to wake up to. It kind of felt like a big, fuck you to the past.
yeah. It's always I'd have loved. Never possible and never should happen, but it's almost like if there was a sequel, again, even saying that leaves a weird taste in my mouth. But it's like the story would still be very interesting because it leaves on such an intriguing point of has he learned anything?
Mm.
Like, and I do hear what you're saying. I mean, some of the stuff works more for me. I never really took pity. I always used to take pity on Jason Lee's character,
Yeah,
Brian. I related more, not related more, but I always kind of with Tom Cruise, when you're younger, I think you relate more maybe as like having an infatuation with someone you maybe just met. So I looked at it more from that
Oh
and
yeah,
not from his other stuff. So that maybe that's why I always kind of bought it, and like the excitement of like when they're I think Peter Gabriel's playing and they're drawing each other and they're having a nice time, and he steps outside,
oh
doesn't
yeah,
he? And
yes.
but I think Penelope Cruz more than anything, just like this person that's walked into this larger than life character's life, and then it's just like feeling so insignificant, if you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
we all have. So so I sorry, mate. Yeah, go on.
I was going to say, sorry, I was going to say, I think it comes to like personal choice, and this is it, with what you take
Absolutely.
from it. And I think it just comes down to that because what happens in the lucid dream has no consequence in reality,
Yeah.
then he doesn't necessarily need to become a better person by the end because he's fully aware that what's happening in his lucid dream is a complete dream. So it's almost like he can just turn around and go, well, you know what? It's done when I'm going to wake up because when
Yeah.
this nightmare, And I think, yeah, there are some lovely moments, the bit where they are drawing each other, how he plays off with Penelope Cruz, and there is some really nice moments. He's funny with his close friends and everything, but he treats Julie like shit.
Yeah.
And it's obvious from obviously it's not to him but everyone else that she's in love with him, but it's that decision and it's what comes down to it. And I know you can't have a story without him getting into the car with Julie.
Yeah.
You can't have any kind of character progression for him. But what always annoyed me was if he is, and you might think different, but to me, I'm just thinking if he's so in control of his life and he's fully aware that Julie's a bit off kilter and she's a bit
Yeah.
of a stalker, and he's just had a great night with some woman he's just met and he's completely enamored by her, he wouldn't get in that car in the first place. He'd have
Yeah.
told,
See,
he'd
this
said,
is
fuck off and got in his own
this
car and, you know.
ran her over. See, this is it's funny because I think I only ever heard this once. What the perspective you put forward, because whether it's I'm naive or whether this is a part where Cameron Crowe's left it to be, so it's like if your own like kind of choice.
Mm.
I always thought that he never got in the car to like have sex or a relationship. I always thought it was a bit of like to placate her a little bit because he's in this. He can maybe like then bin her off at one time or keep it at it. I know
Yeah.
that might sound naive, but I always thought that was it. And to me, I always thought that was it because I thought it was like after obviously they go in the car together and they have that car crash, don't they?
Yeah.
And she kind of reveals how much she's in love with him, and this is where it all kind of starts. So I always kind of felt that that was the more of the kind of the tragedy behind it, that he'd maybe have found somebody that he wanted to actually treat right, and the person who is like treated recklessly, he's kind of got in the car again for old time's sake to please her, because we have seen scenes as well where he doesn't just sleep with her all the time, but he kind of fobs her
Yeah.
off, doesn't he? And I think he feels a bit guilty and he gets in the car with her. And I thought that maybe that's, again, I could be totally wrong and it could actually be, most people could see it from your perspective, but I saw it as he was getting in the car not to do anything like that, just because they were obviously
Oh
traveling
no.
in a day. And he kind of goes, that's the sad part of it, is the fact that
No,
he,
sorry, mate. I just I get, I do get that, and I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
think he was either. I don't think he was going to get in the car, to
yeah.
do anything with it. I think, he probably was going to bin her off and that, but still, it's just when she's,
It's ego, isn't it, from him?
yeah. I suppose I
It's
just think,
100% ego.
yeah, it's just if you know that kind of person's that off kilter,
Yeah,
I just, and either that kind of night. I think it's the whole thing where I think it'd be even more tragic for me if they just spent. They haven't done it for the reasons for for story beats and that. But if him and Penelope Cruz would have had that little bit more time together
yeah.
for their relationship to that one night's great because we felt most people have felt that just after one night meeting someone thinking that this completely
Yeah,
like
even if you don't
over the
turn
top
out like
feeling.
that, dear, it's the feeling of where could this go?
Yeah, exactly. But it's
Yeah,
sort of the way he pour, and it's probably because he's a lonely person. The way he pours everything into this one person,
yeah,
yeah, that makes it tragic. But you get from her that the next time they meet, when they go to the nightclub and everything, she did go and see me. She wanted to see me in the hospital. They won't let her and all that. But at the nightclub, it's kind of like that evening doesn't. To me, it felt like she didn't feel as much as what, even though she got excited when he left. The next time you see her, I don't think it's just because of his face, but she almost seemed a little bit disinterested then. And it makes me wonder when there's that black and white image of her when Brian chases after her.
Yes.
It's that black and white image, and you can take that. Was that in Tom Cruise's head because it's in black and white, or did it really happen? Was that the start of the lucid dream or whatever?
I mean, the thing is, this is like from my point of view. Like I said, I really like it because I like to look at this as like almost like a fairy tale tragedy of like in real life maybe. It wouldn't have been that sad for her if it's one time, but obviously this is from his memory and perspective and stuff. But just discussing this now, I feel like this is like the I don't want to say genius like that, but you just for the like term more than anything, but the genius of the film or the positive of the film that there is so many interpretations. I think the last time I saw it, there was like four interpretations of the film. And I know Cameron Crowe's written 3 of them, and I think the fans have written another one. I personally, I don't buy into. I buy into what me and you were talking about, motivations and stuff. I think the film is exactly how it's told. It specifically fucks your mind over for a good 2 hours and then lays everything out, because as an audience, you need that. You can't be skull fucked for 2 hours and then just like, bye-bye. So,
obviously you don't live around here.
Not anymore. So from that perspective, I think that to me is what really works. I like that. Now, some actors are better than others and some sell it better than others, so maybe that's like just from a performance of Penelope Cruz. I think she's got very good chemistry with Tom Cruise, but I just don't think she's a particularly strong actress. In anything that I've seen her in. Again, like I said, I think she works for this role because I think she's very in a supportive role, even though she's one of the main leads. She's almost, like I said, I think at the time, the character, she starts to share like the character with Cameron Diaz, and Cameron Diaz is always the one doing the, like we said, the heavy lifting, the emotional scenes, the beats, and stuff like that. So yeah, maybe something like that's just not translated well, over. But I like I said, I think that to me, I know what you're saying, and I think it does come down to personal preference, doesn't it? But I think I think that like the one night for me makes it sad, especially as it's almost like told at the end, like that she never really recovered. She put a brave face on and she met him once and it was upsetting. Now, I don't take that as Penelope Cruz goes and never marries anybody again or sees anybody, but it really devastated her for a little.
But was that just tech support telling you what you wanted to hear?
Would this again, mate? That's it exactly. Is it tech support?
Because tech support wouldn't then turn around and say like, "Oh, you're going to wake up." But if you want to know what happened to your friends, by the way, Sophia, she lived a very happy life with someone that wasn't you. All right, cheers, mate. Thanks. That's like
now watch me chop off Jamie Lannister's hand.
That's it. But that's it. But that's like more likely to send him back into a lucid dream, isn't it? If he finds out that she had a good life without him, he's more likely to agree to go back into the dream to have complete control of it. So I think, maybe that's probably me thinking too much into it. But I think someone in that position who's sort of knows that you want to wake up and sort of saying, by the way, she was really sad that you took your own life and decided to disappear and all that. It's like, because you wouldn't, if someone turned around and said, no, she was a lot happier without you. It's
no. Can I just say though, how much I love Noah Taylor in that as the tech support.
Oh, he's great.
Edmund, I think he stands out. Like,
and he's got a lot to do. He's got a lot of exposition to pass off. I think in other hands, it could have been quite clumsy if Matrix reloaded him.
It's werewolves, David. It's werewolves.
I just think it. I think it's done so well, and he talks as a human being. He's the way he talks to. It's not like an adult talking to a child or a teacher talking to a student, and so. But it's a very just a friendly, guiding way of getting Cruz through it all, and you don't mind. By that point in the film, it's not like other films have done exposition dumps where you just think, oh yeah, cheers, I ain't needed that.
Yeah.
But this one, it's sort of like you do think you've earned it, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't spoon feed it to you all.
No, definitely.
It sort of back layers but there's little touches that you get with when he starts talking to Kurt Russell, and Kurt Russell says we've only got a little bit of time left, we've only got a short amount of time, and he keeps sort of repeating that, so there's something not quite right. It's the whole thing. You keep shouting out, Ellie. What's this Ellie? Why do you keep shouting Ellie out? And it's sort of the LE for the company that throws him, and all these little things that pop up. So there are some really nice.
Yeah, it's in your face, but not. It's like there for you to figure out but because when you first watch it, you don't expect the film to be that kind of film. You're like looking at it and going, okay, and then not really understanding the significance of it. So it's in front of your face, but it's not like you're watching like you're watching some kind of film like that's got a sci-fi twist or a fantasy twist. So like the first maybe 40, 50 minutes you won't even pay attention.
Yeah.
And then you'll start to go, and that's what I mean about the like repeat reviewings. I mean, I think everybody's probably like heard the splice of the lucid dream kick in, and the obviousness of which I said earlier when they take his mask off and he's got his face is all fixed and repaired.
Yeah.
And I'm there going bullshit about ready to walk out.
The standout thing for me was. And it stuck out the first time I watched it, and this time was Tom Cruise singing "What If God Was One of Us."
Yeah.
What if God was one of us? Like so John Merrick went karaoke.
I'm a human being.
I'm a human being singing the human league. You'd be very kind. But I think you're right. I think performance-wise, everyone does give it their all, and really, I will say, I feel a bit exasperated with it because I don't want to hate on Penelope Cruz because she's not by any means a reason to hate the film. It just comes down to. We're not professional critics or anything. I shouldn't worry about upsetting anyone. I don't think Penelope Cruz is ever gonna listen to this.
No, I don't think she will.
But it's just she really, really grates on me, and she grated on me as much as she did 18 years ago. And I find it hard to watch her. I don't know what it is. So I think it takes it out. But again, that role, she does play it well, and you can understand why he does sort of fall for her so quickly because she's playful and she's a bit different.
I think it's an infatuation into it, absolutely.
Yeah, but that could have been played by
absolutely
many other competent actresses. I'm not saying she's not competent. It's just there's something about her that just makes me think.
Yeah, see, obviously it bothers you far more than me. But like I said, that I do totally understand why she was selected, but I also understand that I think she can stick out a little bit like a sore thumb, especially when you, like I've said, I know I keep saying it, but when you contrast her to like Cameron Diaz and Tom Cruise's like acting chops.
Yeah.
I think Penelope Cruz is just one of those. And this is going to really sound awful, and I don't mean it to. But she's one of those people I think that splits opinion where people either find her absolutely amazing, like in her looks and stature, or not. And I find her a little bit strange, not strange as anything like that, but like stood still quietly, like the shots where she's reacting, it's fine. There's just kind of a Julia Roberts thing with me as well. Like it's like she's got a really big mouth, and it takes my attention up when she speaks. Same Julia Roberts, Anne Hathaway, Penelope Cruz, they all do it for me. Where I'm like trying to concentrate, and I'm like, oh no.
See how things say with Julia Roberts. I just think, why is Eric wearing a wig? I don't know. It's really an awful thing to say. I don't know.
I know. How dare you compare his sister to it? No, but just like to point out, we do have a laugh on this, and I don't mean anything by it. That's not also insulting the looks. I'm just saying that, like, sometimes, like, you get certain actors, don't you? Like, I think when I watch Ron Perlman in something, if he's not in Hellboy makeup, I'm just like sometimes looking at him like, your head is massive.
I think it's a bit of a distraction, isn't it? It sort of takes you out of it because you're too busy going,
like Robert Davey and stuff like that. Certain actors that just have certain qualities about them.
We're just calling out all the actors who've got shit wrong with them.
Imagine. And they finished on season 2, episode 2. It was a good run while it lasted. Again, it's not calling her looks. Obviously, she's a beautiful woman, right? But it is. There are certain points, aren't there? And I think like Julia Roberts for me has always like done the same. Has been a bit of a distraction, and I think that. So maybe I do get where you're coming from with that.
The top 10 performances where the performance was distracted by someone's face.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I've noted that down. Siri, name me ugly actors. Yeah, so I do get that. I think just from, I don't know, I think the film for me works because it is the ultimate tragedy of, I mean, just from the perspective, I know we've obviously people are coming to us who expect them to understand it, and if you've clicking on and you've not watched Vanilla Sky, then why?
Very little.
Yeah, exactly. Mom, I want to watch that film with that woman with a big mouth.
What they're talking about? I don't know. Robert Davies' cheeks. I don't know.
It's going to sound really bad. I don't even mean it like that. It's
do you know what? We're gonna have to cut this episode down by about half an hour.
just me and you sat there over a beer going. And another thing I'll tell you, I never liked Al Pacino's earplugs. They're fucking.
Do you know what? We're gonna have to do a notification at the start saying not suitable for anyone who's easily offended. So you just turn it off now.
Due to try not to offend anybody, we've removed certain segments of the show. 3 episodes later. See you next week, guys.
I think on about tragedy. Sorry to interject.
No, fine.
But I feel the most tragic character in it, the one that I felt real sympathy for, was Kurt Russell.
Yeah, I think I'd love to know somebody that doesn't. I mean, I love the description of him from Noah Taylor the tech support guy, when he's like, "Don't feel sorry for him, David. He's a winning man." Like, and that makes it even more sad, don't it?
Yeah. It's just the father figure that he's always craved.
Yeah.
It was,
from Kill a Mockingbird, wasn't it?
Yeah, which is lovely. Yeah, it's a lovely callback to that, and he's there for him emotionally.
Yeah.
But it's that whole reveal that when it all turns out to be part of his lucid dream, and that he's just, it's essentially, it's his, Kurt Russell's essentially subconscious trying to keep him there, trying to ground him in the lucid dream, and it's the whole sort of, it keeps going on, right, I've got to go, going out with my daughters tonight. I've got 2 daughters, it's supposed to be our night out, family night out, or whatever. And he keeps talking about them, and it's just when they turn around and he's gone, they said, no, it's just a dream. And it's his whole defense mechanism kicks in about, no, I'm real. Of course I'm real.
Yeah.
Like, well, what are your daughters called? And
this cannot be the future.
Yeah. And it's like, and he just doesn't, the panic sort of sets in. I mean, there's a bit of sort of calm almost as soon as Brian turns up, when they're all on the roof, and he sort of realizes Brian's next to him. And there's like a calm acceptance because Tom Cruise has accepted what's going on. So Kurt
Yeah.
Russell's almost avatar is sort of accepted as well. But
Yeah.
that whole spiel about him not knowing his daughter's names and the whole sort of panic on his face that he's just realised he's not corporeal, he's not a real person.
Yeah.
And I did. I felt more sorry for him in those last couple of minutes than I did anyone else.
I felt sorry for. I thought he was, because the thing that I've not mentioned yet is that the thing I really like about the film is at the beginning, like, you've got so many little plot threads going off, and like, did he murder somebody? What's happening? Is the board against him? And I was thinking, come on, Kurt, be a hero.
Yeah.
Get in there, unravel this mystery, and then you get that awesome line when he's in the elevator lift, whatever you want to call it, going up. Yeah, and he's like, somebody died. It was me. Like, so matter of fact. So we've been looking at which person's died and who's killed who, and it's like, it was me. I died. Like, yeah, it's just, yeah, really, really. I do think for me, it's just a thinking person's film, and it's very philosophical. And like I said, and I don't really see the film me as having a journey. Maybe that's why it works for me, is because I don't see it as, even, it's David Ames's journey, obviously Tom Cruise's, but I see it more comes down to the decision of, are you ready to live or not? Because I've had this question with everybody apart from you, I think. So I'll have this now. So, what is happiness to you, David? No. So the question is,
don't say that, because I'll end up. That's when the last time sort of someone said that to Tom Cruise in that film. He fucked them really hard and screamed at them, and I don't want that to happen right now.
yeah, you've locked your door, haven't you? Tom Cruise is Tom. You don't want to get the Tom Cruise elf, do you? Visiting you in the night.
What's happening? Go away! Not again!
Not again. Can we still be friends? Not again. Not now, Tom. But to me, it is the ultimate of the choice that you make. All the little choices add up, and you can't escape what's going to happen to you. And I love the decision he's got at the end. Like, do you stay there, knowing that you could be with Sophia? Because I know what you're saying about, like, from a character's perspective, like, none of that's happened, so he's got no consequences. I mean, I think he has got the knowledge, though, of that the person that he did really like is gone, and all his friends and family and stuff. But to me, the real question is, you've kind of caught up to where you've gone in your journey, and it's like, this is your matter of truth now. Do you, like, it's like, do you open your eyes? Do you live? Do you decide to go, like, I could forget about it and be in my dream and with the person I want, with somebody else, with anybody? Tech support could do anything and almost live forever.
Yeah.
Or do you live a real life? Like, what would you pick?
Well, being in the real world or being stuck with Penelope Cruz? There's no question, mate.
Get me out of here. But you could, but it's that part of, like, in your lucid dream, you could, like, because they're essentially saying it could be somebody else. So you could see your family again, or you've got memories that's happened that you will instantly forget. I'm not convinced I'd choose a real life.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like, if you can choose whatever reality is the perfect reality, and like
one where Will Smith isn't in it.
Well, they said, don't they, that it's sort of like, he can, if he's aware of it, he can control what's going on.
Yes.
But they also did say that they'd put him back in a dream where he wouldn't remember any of the rest of the stuff. They'd just keep him in cryostasis, and it'd just be as if nothing ever happened. Now, there's part of me that thinks, well, it'd be nice to go back with a little bit of knowledge and be able to build and be in charge, sort of play God a little bit.
Yeah, like administration kind of privileges.
Yeah, but I think, I'd probably stay, because I think if you're supposed to live in a future where everyone you knew and loved is no longer around.
I'd be your tech support, wouldn't I? I knew it. I'd come back and be like, Dan, you'd be like, ooh, I recognise you. Yeah, it's Grant from tech support. I know you've loved this person forever, but I have had complaints from the family. You've got to stop raping Roddy McDowell.
Oh god, this episode's gonna get like 3 views and a load of negative comments.
Oh.
Oh dear.
I just don't think that I could. Yeah, I just think that you've got. Because I think obviously if you could play God, it's almost like when I was younger, I used to play Sonic the Hedgehog and used to get. I don't know if you used to do the world's most famous video game cheat: up, down, left, right, A, B, C, start. And if you like L2 buttons down as you went into the level, you literally could like cycle through every item on the screen and just go up and down, fly through the screen, the floor, everything. So, or again, like Administrator God mode, they kind of call it. Like that would be dull after a while, wouldn't it? Like I'd be dropping like giant snakes everywhere, like, or be like Patrick Stewart.
Of course.
I've seen everything. Yeah, Roddy, I've seen everything. So I do get that, but I think if you're waking up and you're still kept as you are, again, forgetting that you're in a, so you are essentially living because you don't know that you've got anything. Because I'd love to know more about, could you die there? If you die there, do you die? But I just don't think I'd wake up. So, like, from that,
I taught myself for a reason, mate. I'll fucking wake up again.
Your mind keeps playing tricks on you, David. Your mind keeps playing tricks on you. I kept wondering why I was waking up in a freezer.
It's like waking up saying that tech support's going, yeah, we've got all this technology, we can mend your face. But for me, it'd be like, well, is there a cheat out way of being fat? And they'd be like, oh no, you still have to die. Oh fuck that, I'm going back to sleep. Cheers, mate. No, I'm all right.
Brilliant. Oh dear. But it's like from my perspective, like all joking aside, I do think that the film touches on some themes that I find really interesting, like what is the meaning of life? Are you really living if you're not living, kind of thing? What would you do in this situation? I mean, and I think it's very just from the like I really do like the soundtrack. I think that stands out. I hate that. I need to find out what that's called because I fucking hate that at the beginning. Like you, I get its purpose in the film. I do get it. But once you've seen it, and it's annoying the first time.
I think any film where you can listen to REM at least twice, is a winner.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's they call it the elevator music when he's obviously it's in the elevator, but I think there's some of the music's just really sad, and there's an excellent use of the Beach Boys, Good Vibrations, when Tilda Swinton's like looks into the camera, breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah.
When we start to figure out everything that's going off, I absolutely
really
love
that bit. Yeah, I forgot about it where she sort of addresses, because she said your observer, something about your observers, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Line is, but yeah, she's on about obviously us to the audience. Like,
Yeah.
You're being observed right now, or something like that. And sort of looks directly into the camera, and you think, "Oh, you cheeky mare."
Yeah. No, it's excellent. That is, and I love the old. I just like how everything's like you said before. Everything Ellie's dropped in, Benny the dog, everything's dropped in nicely for you. I think, like I said, I think his X-rays is even like his mask's got a clue on it. I think there's some stuff that people have probably not even seen. I still think. I think what's good about it is you do get a bit of comedy in it. I think Jason Lee's quite funny. We also get Tom Cruise saying, that's good because for a minute there I thought we're talking about a fucking mask.
It was a good, I like that bit from the board. Yeah. Yes, he's got the UV protection. Oh, great, yeah.
And it's good as well because that scene just reminds me of like everyone's so uncomfortable telling him, and then as soon as somebody like goes, "Oh yeah, it's got UV properties and blah 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 blah," everyone just jumps in, and it's like you just know that's somehow out of touch, fucking fat cat rich people would try and sell you a fucking mask. I mean, like he says, it completely takes care of Halloween.
That's it, yeah. It's fucking brilliant. You can imagine him putting shouty Tom Cruise in a number of films, like when they talk about the Death Star's weak systems and said it's got to, yeah. It's I thought we talked about an exhaust pod 2 meters wide.
Yes. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, so I thought maybe we should wrap it up. I think it's a film that I don't think we can, apart from the meaning of it, we can't really cover it much more because I think it's a film you've got to see.
That's it. You definitely, yeah. You should really go out and watch it. And I think we have to wrap this up before we offend anyone else tonight. I think.
I'm trying to think if there's anybody I've not mentioned. Yeah. So, and I'd like to point out we never called Mila Jovovich a boy.
No, that was. Yeah.
That was LT.
LT, yeah.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I'll lay it on the line, mate. I know I say this every time, but to me, it would get a golden biscuit for me. I have obviously never. I don't expect you to give it one. But there is, for me, it's just a complete film that just takes me along for the ride. It's a philosophical film for me, and I really do like the story, and I like the fact that it's quite a sad, like downtrodden film. And I think the last 30-40 minutes of it, I think it's brilliant, and I think it's just thought provoking.
Yeah,
and it makes me question a lot of things, and I think it's done like every shot means something. Like you said, the vanilla skies of the which he likes when he's introduced this surfboard that he paints, and everything almost looks so real but dreamlike.
yeah.
So I think it is like yeah. So I don't really want to. I don't feel I can convey any further, if you know what I mean, why I like it. I think it's one of those films that you watch and you see it, and if you really enjoy it and like it, you go, I fucking love that, and it just resonates with you. And then equally, I can see where some people watch it and go, what the fuck's just gone off here? I mean, I will give a shout out to a friend I've got called Jack. Used to play football with him a lot and stuff, and he's into his movies. I'm not really don't really speak to him much about movies and stuff. I'm more talk to him about like sport and football and like the big films that come out, if you know what I mean. Not like me and you chatting about every kind of film and every little detail. Yeah. And a while ago, I spoke to him and he said, "Oh, I've watched a film. I've watched From the Sky last night. You ever seen it? It's cracking." I was like, "What? Yeah, I love that film, but not many people I know do." And he was like, "No, I fucking love it." So it has shocked me, really shocked me, that did. And I think it's the same thing. Like my sister, like had me on a hit list for showing it to her. So yeah. So where do you stand with it? Because obviously this is going to be interesting. Because usually me and you are very, very similar in a lot of ways. So this is obviously, in my eyes, going to be the first time where we don't agree.
Yeah, I would say that originally, I think if you'd asked me this back, back in college, I'd have gone, "What, we've got a platform? Great, yeah, let's." We get to offend people, great stuff. Now,
what's a YouTube?
What is this YouTube? I think we've still been talking about Robert Davies' face. I think Agent Johnson and Johnson, no relation. I think back then it had been a low score, but obviously, like I said, tastes have changed. Sort of broadened my viewing horizons quite a bit. So I would say, yeah, it doesn't get the high praise that yourself gives it, but it's a good solid 4.
Oh, that's nice. I read Roger Ebert's review.
Yeah,
he really loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very surprised. I think it's one of those films that if you don't connect with it, you can see it as either a waste of time or you can see it as pretentious, trying to be better than it is. Where I don't feel it's trying to be better than it is. I don't feel it's like I said. I don't think it's absolute. It's one of those films that is supposed to be like mind blowing on a smaller scale. Like, oh, that's clever. Oh, yeah, that's clever. Oh, didn't see that. It's not supposed to completely change your entire perspective of film or anything like that. But I think again, it splits it. It splits it down the middle, and I think for me, it just really does resonate with me. It works. I'm fascinated by life and death, and I think there's a lot of questions that raised from the film for me, and I think it's thought provoking. And yeah, so I would give it the golden biscuits. I think it's maybe the first time where we've had a separate score.
That's it. I think 4 for me is, and that's not being generous. I think it deserves high praise, especially this watching it this time around. There's just still things. Yeah, the movie viewing experience is personal, and that's
Absolutely.
how you've got to look at things. You can't look at it as a cold, as a cold, critical way completely, because you have to, these things are important to us for various reasons, and I think, it just misses out on a couple of things that would raise it up. I think for me, if I maybe connected with Cruise's character a little bit more, if uh, you know, Sophia was played by anyone other than Penelope Cruz.
Robert Davi.
Robert Davey, yeah, I'd have a bit more believability.
Pleasure,
Denzel.
Delia.
Get Denzel in it.
Yeah.
Denzel would be perfect. But that's. But there you go, mate. It's
Yeah.
4. Yeah, good solid 4, mate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a good score. Very good score. So yeah, is there anything yourself you want to mention before we head out of here into our real lives? We are in our
You're
real
a
lives.
cunt.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to be able to say that. I don't know if we've said it before on the show, but yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the episode where we do kind of like put an age rating on there. Like you've got to be 35 or older. Like
A nonsense rating as well. I think.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fine, mate. Now I'm just, I've enjoyed it. It's good to revisit it. It's good to. I would reckon, I still want. I hope it encourages people to go out and see it, just to make sense of, a lot of this review, sort of going backwards and forwards. But
Yeah,
it is enjoyable. It's an enjoyable experience, and it's nice to see that it takes people on different personal journeys. It's and it will bring discussion. It's not like you just throw on an 80s action, for example, and just watch it and enjoy it, or like an over the top sort of film like that you could just take your brain out and just go, this is cool because it's a spectacle. It's a really nice film to have a really good discussion about after.
Oh, I mean, you think about it, like back to our first episode when we're talking about the Ghostbusters franchise, and I was like, why does 16 exist? Why people? Well, we know why, money. And that makes me laugh because the line in this film where it says, what's the answer to 99 questions out of 100? The answer, money. Yeah. But like this film, yes, it is a reimagining of a 1997 film, but the story, it's a foreign film, so it's not likely, and it was like a low budget Spanish film, so it's not likely to have been seen. So they went there kind of not begging, but saying, "Can we do this? We really like it." So they brought it over here. I'd rather 100% try something like this. There's a risk than have remake after remake after remake of successful films.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like we've got the Evil Dead, so we had 2013's Evil Dead, which was a good reimagining of it, but equally didn't need to happen. So I'd rather.
Yeah, it's a perfect example is Let the Right One In and Let Me In.
Yes.
I've watched both and enjoy them both individually.
Yeah.
But stylistically, they are very different. But it's great because you do get that sort of. There is a noticeable difference between each filmmaker and each finished project. So I'm all for that. It's it's just like you said when they're just sort of remaking or the sort of rebooting stuff. like Spider-Man, when they've done Spider-Man 3, and then they went, oh, shall we do Spider-Man 4? Yeah, we'll do Spider-Man 4. And then 2 years later, they went, no, we're going to reboot Spider-Man again. It's just, there needs to be a healthy, if you're going to remake something, or I think then, you either leave it a very decent gap, or you do what you do, like, love it or hate it, Superman, in sort of 70, 78, and then, it had its sequels, and you had sort of Superman Returns with 2006, which was a continuation of that, the first two Reeve movies. But then you had Man of Steel. There's been a decent gap between Man of Steel and Superman the movie. And Man of Steel did things differently. It's telling the same story, but in a completely different way. And I think that's how you need to look at things now. That's how things are going to pique your interest, rather than just doing a straight out remake.
Well, 2 years ago, you got Predator, Predator 2, Predators, The Predator. Like, I mean, just from a point of view, like, got Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and they're remaking it's a Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, from our perspective, we're alive. We've sat and watched the films. We know of them, so we know what to watch in what order. But, I mean, it comes to a point when you're saying, should we watch a film? What do you want to watch? Nightmare on Elm Street. No one ever says this, by the way, because no one ever wants to watch it. But, like, what do you want to watch? Nightmare on Elm Street? Which one? Or as people refer to it, like Ghostbusters 16, Ghostbusters 84, or Nightmare on Elm Street 20. Like, why? That's double the insult that they can't even call it something else.
It's an odd one, isn't it? Because it's. I would rather see a continuation with a potentially another further crappy entry to an Alien franchise.
Yeah,
that was an Alien, not Alien franchise. It's kind of the same point, really. But I'd rather see than a complete remake when it's on a. I'd rather see it's that sandbox. I'd rather people make stories within that universe potentially, and use some other characters used, not rehashing the same thing over and over again. But again, so going back to your point, for someone to come along and say, yeah, let's look at this, City of Angels and Wings of Desire. There's a lot of people don't dismiss City of Angels as just a sort of romantic fantasy drama. I actually quite enjoy City of Angels. I think Nick Cage is one of his most grounded performances.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I do think it's a good film, but again, against Wings of Desire, which tells the same sort of story, slightly different outcome and everything, and that. But again, it took a German film for America to go, do you know what? It's a really nice story. Let's do it on our own. Let's transport everything to LA.
As they do.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it. Again, I've seen both. I've watched Wings of Desire and City of Angels, and they might on paper seem it's the same film, but they're not by any standards. So it's
no, I think same. I've not watched Open Your Eyes, the 1997 one, but I've seen quite a few clips of it, and I do need to get around to watching it. But it is, again, like you said, stylistically, it's very different. That's virtual reality. And about how much control you have on your own life and decisions that you make. So it is slightly skewered differently. So I suppose that, like, what Cameron Crowe's done is he's gone and obviously, like you said, he's made it a more personal story, but still kept some of the existing questions and existing themes running through it. Apart from the face makeup and the disfigured face in the original one. It's horrible to say. He looks like Robert Davi. No, it's So again, like I said, I appreciate that, and just like you said, City of Angels and that, it's just you can appreciate why, and especially with modern audiences and American audiences or English speaking audiences, there's still not many people that will watch a film with subtitles.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the only thing that we don't seem to be able to do a good job of is horror films. Apart from what you mentioned earlier, Let the Right One In was quite a nice adaptation.
Yeah.
But apart from that, like The Grudge, all these kind of Asian J horror films, we just can't seem to get any atmosphere when we make them across. So
yeah, it's a shame.
yeah. So on that note, yeah, I'll take those 4 biscuits and head out of here. So, guys, thank you for listening to us through some quite insane waffling this episode. But it is a thought-provoking film, so and hopefully you'll ask some of those questions. Maybe not as many crazy questions as we've got when you're watching it, but before you go, I'd like you to exercise your fingers if you don't mind. Burn those 2 calories. Yeah, burn those 2 calories and click a like button and subscribe button for us. We'd be grateful if you feel we've earned your subscription.
If you want to walk away after this episode tonight, we completely understand as well.
Yeah. So, and if there's anybody else you want us to insult or something, let us know in the comments. But no, we're only joking. We're not doing that. But again, I know we've said it, but I would like to say it's no offense meant to anybody. Just talking about distractions and stuff obviously means everybody's very beautiful and stunning. But you can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram as well. Anchor.
Not Paul. Paul
No,
Anka.
no, definitely not. It's getting late, mate. That one went straight over my head. Give me a crew cut. So again, Dan, thanks for joining me today. So it's a very tough film to talk about. It's a very tough one. So I do appreciate us being able to have a chat about that. So it's been 18 years in the making, ish. So guys, thank you very much. Again, leave us a comment if there's anything you want us to cover or anything you want to add to it, or have you spotted anything? What did you think about the film? Do you think that it is worth a golden biscuit? Is Dan right in his wrong opinion that it's worth only 4? So just let us know. And on that note, Dan, I'm going to go to bed and I'm going to wake up and open my eyes.
Open your eyes.